Welcome to FinStechs. Today we're diving deep into a recent analysis, one that makes a really compelling argument for considering a particular smartphone right now.
Yeah, you shared this one, and it's interesting because it's all about cutting through the noise, right? Trying to figure out what actually makes a phone worth looking at today.
Exactly. There's just so much out there. So our mission today is to unpack this evaluation, pull out those key insights for everyone listening.
Okay, so this analysis we're digging into, it basically lays out 5 specific reasons why the author thinks this Samsung Galaxy S24 FE is a good buy at this moment.
And it's not like a standard review, you said?
No, not exactly. It's framed more around how the value has changed, because of recent price drops. That's the key context here.
Okay, that makes sense. So let's jump in. First point, the display. Sounds like the author was pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, he mentions being a bit concerned initially. Apparently there was a trend with Samsung displays becoming maybe a little less vibrant, more muted colors.
Oh, right. I think I heard something about that even on the high-end ones, like the S24 Ultra.
Exactly. So he was, and I quote, thrilled to see the S24 FE buck that trend. He calls the screen gorgeous.
Gorgeous. What are the specs on it?
It's a 6.7-inch Super AMOLED with 120 hertz refresh rate. So, really smooth scrolling, deep blacks, punchy colors, typical Super AMOLED stuff, but apparently done really well here.
And he talks about real-world use too, right? Like outdoors.
Yeah, says it has excellent outdoor visibility. And those vibrant colors make movies and games look fantastic.
Wow.
He actually suggests it's hard to find a better display in like the mid-range phone space.
So screen quality is a definite check mark for this one then. If that's important to you, it sounds like a major plus.
Absolutely. I mean, the screen is what you look at constantly, right?
Yeah.
So having a top tier one in a more affordable phone, that's significant.
Okay, point number 2, premium build quality, but at that mid-range price.
Right. He mentions things you normally associate with more expensive phones, like an IP68 rating.
For water and dust resistance.
Exactly. And Gorilla Glass Victus, plus on the front, plus an aluminum frame. Stuff he says he'd sort of expect on maybe a $650 phone.
But this one's cheaper now.
Yeah, that's the whole point. It's now down around $500, which makes those features feel, more impressive. It changes the calculation.
He also talked about the feel, didn't he? The design details.
You mentioned a tapered back. So the aluminum edges don't dig into your palm as much. Addresses that discomfort some people find with totally flat-sided phones.
Ah, okay. So it's not just tough, it actually feels good to hold.
Seems like it. It suggests they didn't just, tick boxes for specs, but thought about the ergonomics, too.
Yeah.
And that Gorilla Glass Victus, plus, it's good for durability, adds peace of mind, as he puts it.
Even if you should probably still use a case.
Oh, yeah. Always a good idea. But it helps against, minor scrapes and things.
All right, moving on to performance. This is where the Exynos chip comes in, right? The Exynos 2400E.
Yes, and he admits there was some, let's say, uncertainty around it at launch.
Because Exynos chips have had, well, a bit of a reputation sometimes.
They really have.
Yeah.
A bit of a roller coaster, like you said. But the author points to an upward trend recently. He mentions other newer Exynos chips, like in the Galaxy A55 and A56, performing well.
So, signs of improvement before this one.
Kind of sets the stage, yeah. And his experience with this S24 FE seems to follow that positive trend. He calls the performance silky smooth.
Silky smooth, that's strong praise. And no overheating issues. That was a problem before, right?
Apparently not here. He specifically says none of those old overheating problems, even mentions gaming performance.
Oh yeah, we're games.
He name drops Genshin Impact, says it runs surprisingly well. Maybe not max settings everywhere, but still good.
And what helps with that? Keeping it cool?
He credits a vapor chamber. It's basically a more advanced cooling system inside the phone. Helps dissipate heat, especially during longer gaming sessions.
Okay, so that's a feature you don't always see in this price range.
It's exactly. Usually more common in higher-end or gaming-focused phones. So its inclusion here is definitely noteworthy for keeping things running smoothly.
Makes sense. Okay, next up, battery life. Always a big one.
And it sounds pretty good here, too. He links it back to that Exynos chip again, saying because it runs cooler, it's also more efficient.
So better performance and better battery.
Seems that way. He shares his own usage. Easily gets through a full day with a 4,700 milliamp battery.
How much is left, typically?
Often ends the day with like 40% remaining. And that includes some moderate gaming in the mix.
Wow, that's pretty solid.
Yeah, he seemed genuinely surprised, mentioning that past Samsung silicon wasn't always this power efficient. So it marks a real improvement in his eyes.
There's always a but, isn't there? The charging speed.
Yeah, yes. The downside. He calls the 25W wired charging anemic.
Ouch. Anemic.
Yeah. His point is that, in 2025, even for mid-range, that feels slow. Lots of competitors offer faster charging.
We've definitely gotten used to quicker top-ups.
Absolutely. He even contrasts it with Samsung's own newer A-series phones, like the A56, getting 45W charging, though that one launched later in the US.
So it's a trade-off. Great battery life, but you need to plan your charging a bit more.
Pretty much. If you're often needing a super quick charge before running out the door, this might be a sticking point for you.
Okay, final major point. The software experience. Samsung's One UI.
Right. And here, there's a bit of nuance. He talks about Samsung's reliable software track record, but adds a little caveat. For now.
For now. What's the concern?
Well, he mentions some uncertainty swirling around the upcoming One UI 7 launch. A bit of worry maybe about a return to older software philosophies. Even references TouchWiz.
Oh, TouchWiz. Yeah, that takes me back. Not always the smoothest.
Exactly. So there's a slight hesitation about the future direction. But despite that,
He's still giving them the benefit of the doubt.
seems like it for now. And he heavily emphasizes a huge positive, the software support.
How long are we talking?
7 years.
Yeah.
7 years of updates, including the major One UI version upgrades.
7 years. On a mid-range phone? That's huge.
It really is. He calls it fantastic and points out it matches what Google offers on their Pixel phones, even the cheaper ones.
Yeah.
Long-term value right there.
Peace of mind knowing your phone won't be obsolete software-wise in 2 years.
Precisely. Plus, he mentions the S24 FE gets Galaxy AI features too.
Those AI tools usually reserved for the flagships.
Often, yes. So getting them on a phone like the S24 FE adds another layer of value. And for now, he says Android 14 with One UI 6 runs smoothly.
Okay, so summing it all up, the value proposition is the core message here, driven by that price drop.
Absolutely. He reiterates that at the original launch price, maybe $650, it was a tougher sell. There was strong competition, phones from OnePlus or Google's Pixel A series offering similar value.
But now, closer to $500.
It makes much more sense, he says. It allows the phone's strengths, the display, the build, the performance, battery, software support, to really shine without the high price tag being a major obstacle.
So the price change basically elevates it.
Yeah, transforms it into a top contender in the mid-range category. He concludes that even if you're not specifically buying it for the Galaxy AI stuff, it becomes a mid-range winner for under $600.
And the final rating reflected that shift.
Yep, 8 out of 10. He acknowledges the initial high price was a factor, but the current package, especially that display, battery, and cameras, makes it a strong recommendation now.
Right. So as we've seen, this deep dive really puts the spotlight on a few key things for the S24 FE. That vibrant display, the solid build, surprisingly good performance, great battery life, and that long software runway.
And crucially, how that recent price drop makes the whole package much more compelling.
It's a great example of how the market shifts, isn't it? And why revisiting a phone's value proposition later on can be really insightful.
Definitely.
Hopefully this breakdown gave everyone listening a clearer picture of why this particular phone is getting attention right now. We tried to get beyond just specs and look at the why.
Yeah, the reasoning behind the recommendation at this specific point in time.
So we encourage you all to think about these points, weigh them against what you need in a phone, what stood out most to you. Any remaining questions? This is really just kicking off your own thinking process.
And maybe reflect on what aspects of a phone's value is the screen, the battery, the long-term updates, what's most critical for you personally. That might help clarify things.
Great point. Okay, that's our deep dive for today. Stay tuned for more updates and don't forget to like and subscribe.